Yay for being good to go.
Maybe. Did I change everything I needed to change? Yeah, no, we're good. Welcome back to Beerfield Fantasy Football, where we have an action-packed show for you here today. We're going to be flipping off of walls and doing windmill kicks and somersaults and I mean, pretty much straight action movie. Or
That's like the best part.
okay, maybe not that type of action. Did I already say I'm your host? If I didn't already, I'm your host at Hot BFF with 2Ps. Chris Hopper, as always, joined by Dan Thury. Dan, you got some news for the people.
Yeah, I played 72. No, I'm kidding. I actually played 72 holes of disc golf. As I said to some of the people on the live stream, I got engaged to Hurricane on Thursday. Got down on one knee overlooking the Illinois River on a cliffside. No one got hurt. It took her a solid 2 minutes to say yes, but it's okay. She still said yes. So
really had to ponder that one.
Really had to. She was so. It was more of the lines of she was so shocked that I actually asked her. She didn't know if it was real. She thought I was making it up for a good solid 45 seconds.
Did you say just kidding at one point?
I probably should have, but because we're on a cliffside, I really don't want to tempt fate. One wrong move and one of us is going off, plunging to our death. So, not to say that was going to happen, but you just never know.
I would have given you some love music there, but quite honestly, I didn't have anything queued up. So, and okay. Anything I had at quick access would have been another copyright claim. Shout out Titanic. So yeah, Dan got engaged. Congratulations to him and Katrina. I'll save nice things for the wedding because I'm not going to say them now. And I may not even say them then either, but we'll see. Hey, so today we've got football to talk about because that's kind of what the show does. So we're going to go through all of week 3, kind of hit on some talking points, what happened, a couple quarterback changes we need to discuss, some performances that are worth paying attention to. Then we'll get into week 4. We'll preview all your betting lines, all of your bets, all of your other stuff. Fantasy football, whatever you could want to know for week 4, we'll give you about 60% of it. So, yeah, that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's get into what is fueling Beerfield today.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Which, given the name, you would typically assume it's beer, but, you
never know.
Yeah, the beginning of last season, we started doing more things, so it's been bourbon for me all month. This month is no different, so we're going to go with, it's the last show we'll do during Bourbon Heritage Month, and then I'm super excited for October because I can jump back in, and I kind of wish I hadn't committed to doing bourbon all month because I'm sitting here now like, damn, there's all this Oktoberfest and fest beer and pumpkin beer and all sorts of fall beers that I'm just not getting right now. So I'm excited to get into that in October and to get back to some beer. But for right now, we got bourbon. So to close out Bourbon Heritage Month, I am drinking Remus bourbon. So George Remus was the king of the bootleggers. He had a giant bootlegging operation that went on during Prohibition. That's who this is named after. This particular variant is a store pick from the wine and cheese place down here. So they went in, tasted, picked this one, and said, hey, this is the best barrel out of the options they were given to pick one. So they picked this one, cast strength. So we're checking it at 125.7 proof. So a little hot.
Yeah.
But I've had this. It's excellent. It's different, and I'll have a full review about midway through the show. Dan, what are you drinking?
I am drinking, first time on the show. I don't get a chance to get these. They're not down in Springfield yet, but I'm drinking Hot Butcher out of Chicago. One of the more popular and sought after microbrews in the Chicagoland area. I got a friend of mine that I work with who's from the Chicagoland area, so he's able to pick me up stuff when he was up there last. This is a Mosaic and Simcoe hopped milkshake double IPA brewed with blackberry, apricot, graham cracker, and vanilla. I think it clocks in at about 7.5%.
It's like berry pie.
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah.
So more on this a little bit later. It's spoiler alert. It is pretty tasty.
Yep. One other thing on the stream is bourbon, by the way, before we jump into football, is distilled by MGP, and this is another thing that I've been trying to keep some of this educational as we go too. So enter the classroom, kids. So MGP is a distillery actually in Indiana that does a ton of sourcing for people. Like if you've had High West, I can say they're pretty transparent about this, or some of the other bourbons out there on the market that maybe aren't under the Buffalo Trace umbrella or the Brown-Forman umbrella. A lot of that is going to be sourced from MGP. Lot of labels use MGP, so Remus and Eight and Sand and Rossville Union just happen to be the brands that they actually put out there. But there are a lot of brands under maybe new distilleries, micro distilleries, things like that actually source their bourbon from MGP, and then we'll put it through different blending or aging or finishing techniques to make it their own and put their own twist on it. So
that's awesome.
Yep, MGP responsible for a ton of things on the market. All right, that being said, we've got an actual show to get to, so let's jump right into week 3 and look at what happened. And as we do things different, just gonna hit some key talking points here. Not for every game, but most games will usually have one or two. So I wanted to start with Dolphins Jaguars, the Thursday nighter. Myles Gaskin, clear cut running back one for the Dolphins. He saw 27 targets. 27 touches, not targets. 27 targets would have been insane.
That'd have been nuts.
But 27 touches, 22 of those rushes in a game where Miami was up for most of the time. Howard, not even close to that. Gaskin, the unquestioned running back one here for right now?
Yeah. I mean, for right now, and I don't, see them ever making a move. They don't really need to. It's pretty much just two separate roles. It's basically Gaskin outside the 20s, pretty much outside of like the 5-yard line. Because Jordan Howard got the 1-yard touchdown run.
Yep.
Which is gross. But Breida is pretty much non-existent. You can probably even drop him in dynasty leagues.
Oh, he's hurt right now, isn't he?
Well, I think he played 8 snaps.
I thought he was banged up, but I could be wrong about that.
But he played 11 snaps, 18% on Thursday night. You're looking at Gaskin, who played 75% of the snaps.
Yeah, Gaskin's the guy, and for anybody that watched him in college, coming out of college, studied him during draft time, he's a late round draft pick. He's a pick that a lot of people thought were going to go higher than what he did. So, he should have. So he has the makings to be successful as an NFL back. Off to a decent start. He has flex value going in. Other takeaway from this game, 3 weeks in, is that Jacksonville does not have a must-start wide receiver. Everybody kind of thought that DJ Chark was going to come out and have a huge season and continue on his success last year. That hasn't materialized. Keelan Cole actually leads the team in targets, and it only has 17 through the first 4 games. So as of right now, your Jacksonville wide receivers are very much a case-by-case, matchup-by-matchup basis, because Minshew's shown that he's going to spread the ball around between Cole, Conley, Chark, etc., Eifert, the running backs, to where you are not going to have a guy here that's consistently getting 8 to 10 targets a game.
Yeah, I mean, Chark didn't play Thursday night. It was a short week. He didn't get a chance to suit up. He played 84 and 79% of the snaps in weeks 1 and 2. He is the main option here. If one of the bigger takeaways, from this Thursday night game is that this offense needs to have their field stretcher in Chark. Chark is very important to the rest of the receiving core here because no one else can really step up and give Minshew that safety blanket feeling. It wasn't, Laviska Shenault. It wasn't Keelan Cole. Those guys they tried to make it with Chris Conley, who was fucking terrible. So Chark, while obviously has not got off to the hot start that we would have liked to this year, he is an important piece of this offense for all the fantasy pieces around it outside of James Robinson, who has been an absolute monster.
Yep.
These first 3 weeks.
And the put around Chark hasn't been that he hasn't been startable, because he is, but you likely drafted him to be your wide receiver 1, and he's more your 2-3 at this point, just because distinction really doesn't matter in fantasy at this point in the season. But he's a guy that you think of wide receiver 1s, those are guys you're not taking out, and Chark should not be that guy that you're just, no, I'm not taking him out. I mean, 7 targets for the first 2 games. They were all right. 84 yards in week 2, touchdown in week 1, give you passable weeks, but nothing to where you plug him in and leave him and don't think about it.
Yeah, we expected. We also expected that this would be a high, a far heavier pass offense. And while they've only faced the Colts, the Titans, and the Dolphins, Titans have been good this year. Jacksonville has also been able to keep up in games.
They have been.
The heavy pass volume hasn't really been there. And when Chark is healthy, I think it allows Minshew to not have to funnel targets to him, because other players are able to feed off of these softer coverage.
Absolutely.
That they get to see with Chark there.
Absolutely. And, that's the big difference between what we all thought this offense was going to be and what it is that they've been in games and they've been close in games. So you're not getting the garbage time production where you just have to feed a guy targets against soft coverage that we thought we were going to get out of this team.
Agree.
In a lot of weeks. Rams Bills, Darrell Henderson, lead back, back-to-back good games. But Sean McVay has already come out and said he's going to start week 4. 32 carries, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. Yes, Cam Akers has been hurt. 3 receptions on 6 targets, though, and the way that Darrell Henderson's performed, he's carved himself out a steady role, even when Cam Akers does come back, to where, it's going to be hot hand approach still, but I think Darrell Henderson's going to have every opportunity going forward to be the hot hand, given his performance in recent weeks.
You would have thought after week 2 we would have saw an uptick in in touches and in snaps, and him and Malcolm Brown are firmly. This is a firm 50-50 role. 49% snap share for both players. Obviously, Malcolm Brown didn't get the production that Darrell Henderson has, but this is the one thing that you have to kind of worry about, especially when Cam Akers is back and healthy. Is that even with Darrell Henderson performing as well as he is, he's still not getting the far higher increase in snaps. So that should change, especially after this week. Back to back massive 100-yard games. He looks like he should have looked last year. I do expect Cam Akers to put a little bit of thorn into that side, but if he continues to play this well moving forward, he becomes the only trustable piece in this backfield. And
I will say this, and I've said it a bunch too, and you know how I feel about this, so this shouldn't be a surprise. Snap count, to me, without additional context, is an overrated, borderline useless stat. And the reason I say that is, and I'm going to say something that you've heard me say before, Dan. I could give a shit if you're on the field if you're not being utilized. And in contrast to that, if you're only on the field 50% of the time, but you're utilized more than the guy that's on the field the other 50% of the time, then you're the guy in that offense I want. And this really comes into play when it comes down to running backs and tight ends are typically where you run into the stat, to where you might have tight ends at about equal snap share, but if one's blocking all the time for fantasy reasons, fuck all. And when you look at the touches in this game, Malcolm Brown had 7 to Darrell Henderson's 21. So that's where the big discrepancy is for me. Malcolm Brown was in there. Malcolm Brown was in there to block.
But again, it's the same thing. what you're hoping for is that Daryl Henderson is Aaron Jones and Malcolm Brown is Jamal Williams.
Right.
A guy that should not be getting as many snaps as he is. Snaps in itself is kind of useless, but it's a good thing to look at as to where, like, if you're looking for a tiebreaker for Daryl Henderson and another running back, well, if Daryl Henderson's getting all this work, why isn't he getting more snaps?
Because he can't block. Because he never had to in college, and apparently that part of his game hasn't developed yet. So,
and then if I have Cam, if I'm in a redraft and I'm sitting on Daryl Henderson, I am trying to trade him. I am trying to sell high off of 2 high productive weeks, because when Cam Akers is back, he's not out for the year. He's not out for a significant amount of time. I want to be able to flip him when this becomes a even more nasty 3-headed backfield.
Yeah, and for
Dynasty, it's going to get to that point.
Well, and we still need to see Cam Akers produce it at a level. So, yes, he's not out of the woods yet. Henderson isn't. The other thing you're going to have to watch with Daryl Henderson is you're going to have to watch defensive matchups and keep an eye on the offensive line, because if you end up in a situation where you're facing a heavy pass rush where the Rams do have to keep backs in to block, that's going to hurt Daryl Henderson at this point.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to see the more experienced guy like Malcolm Brown see a snap count tick up. You may have Henderson picking up more of the work, and when Cam Akers does get back, he is going to cut into that, and you're going to have a clear performance gap between what Henderson's doing and what Akers is doing for Henderson to not have his touch count eaten into. You make a good point there too.
Yeah, it's
I just don't trust Akers to produce, but I haven't changed that. I have not changed that tune since he was drafted.
But
so
he's going to he's going to steal enough work. This could turn into a Baltimore situation where Daryl Henderson is Mark Ingram, and then you have a combination of both Cam and Malcolm Brown becoming Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. And again, you want to sell it. Redraft leagues, you want to sell high on these opportunities when these players break out, because it's not like their touch counts, or their snap counts aren't going to get higher. So there's a chance that if they do struggle in a game, then they're toast. It's like 49ers. Like, you have to pick and choose which running backs, it's going to hit.
Yep.
And that becomes a nightmare in redraft. Great for best ball, terrible for redraft.
Yeah, or the Patriots, the 49ers too. I mean, you consistently got to a point where you could trust both Breida and Mostert at any given point in time.
Yeah.
Or at least toss them.
You just have to eat a low-scoring game, potentially. That's all.
Every now and again, yep. And that's exactly how this is going to be. I agree with that. One thing I learned matchup-wise from this week and over the last couple of weeks is the Bills' defense is not as good as we thought they were going to be. 30-plus points again. They've got 400-plus total yards of offense 2 of the last 3 weeks. Now, they're staying in these games, and they're running with teams, and Josh Allen looks a whole hell of a lot better than he has the last 2 seasons. Like, he's progressed like everybody wanted him to progress. Remember when he was supposed to be a bust? Anyway, because glad I didn't buy into that. Where'd those people go? Sorry, victory lap. But
I have always been against Josh Allen, but I was on him this year. He was a top 5 quarterback for me. So
yep. So, and they're keeping up. They're keeping up not just with Josh Allen's legs, but with his arms. He's utilizing Stephon Diggs and John Brown. Gabe Davis is a guy you want to keep an eye on in that offense as well. So, but the defense isn't good, and what that means is that your team plays the Bills. You don't have to fade players. And if it's a high-scoring team playing the Bills, then the Bills are about at a point where they can be considered in the same realm as, like Seattle or Dallas, or if that game's going to be high-scoring, go ahead and run out your pieces.
Exactly. Like, I cannot, I cannot wait to play any opponents against Seattle. I do think Buffalo's defense is going to catch up at some point. Like, they have some injuries. They got hurt. I think they lost a couple safety starters.
Yeah.
And they got up big in both of these games, and you can tell that the defense started to play a bit soft. So, granted, they're not as good as they've looked. I don't think they're as bad as what we've seen.
Right. Speaking of defenses that get up in games and start to play soft, Nick Foles came in, and the Bears came from behind to beat the Falcons because that's becoming a thing. So I did want to take it a minute because we do need to discuss this. Bears offense looked a lot more aggressive with Nick Foles under center, and I don't know if that was, them being behind and just screw it, we've got to catch up, and that's why, or if maybe what I've been attributing to Matt Nagy in bad play calling has really been Trubisky taking checkdowns and shit way too much. But for whatever reason, it seemed on the surface there was more of a trust between coach and quarterback to air it out, to go deep, to put the ball where it needed to be, and 3 touchdowns, 1 pick that could have been a touchdown.
Yeah,
should have been a touchdown, honestly.
Yeah.
200 yards in basically a quarter and a half. Nick Foles had that offense rolling. So, for me, as the Bears fan, one, I'm excited to see it a full game if they play it more conservative to start out games, because we've seen Trubisky do the same thing when they're down and come in late and start to air it out after playing the first half conservative. That was a big annoyance of mine last year. So I'm real interested to see, one, if this changes the play calling or looks any different early on in games to where the Bears are less conservative. And I do think this is a bump up for Allen Robinson, who had a good game. Jimmy Graham might be fantasy relevant again. He's had 2 good games so far. God. 2 of 3 so far this year.
What the fuck, man?
I might have a sell window on Jimmy Graham, and I've been looking for that in Dynasty for years. But yeah, Allen Robinson, 123 yards and a touchdown on 13 targets. Jimmy Graham, 6 of 10 for 60 and 2. Used in the red zone. Like I said, this is gonna turn things differently for the offense. Anthony Miller dropped a touchdown. He could have had 2. He had a couple of bad drops. He was utilized. Darnell Mooney was getting targeted. So overall, a bump up for the offense from Nick Foles, in my opinion.
I mean, you're looking at. I mean, this is going to be 3 games, so this is going to take into account the first 2 games. But you're looking at what Robinson had to deal with. I just had the numbers here. 74% catchable target rate, 71st in the league, 82nd in true catch rate at 78.3. Granted, again, those is with 2 games with Mitch Trubisky, but you got to see the total aggressiveness, from Nick Foles, and just as you mentioned earlier on, they're down multiple scores against a high-powered offense. They made this shift when it was clear that this stage for Trubisky is kind of done with, and I guess great for them. I mean, as a Bears fan, you're probably thrilled that the team's 3-0, and obviously you would.
I have no idea how.
Like I've been telling people, they're the luckiest team in football. You get a easy drop from DeAndre Swift in week 1 that led to a victory.
The Giants are just incompetent, and you had
the Giants are terrible.
They almost came back on you.
I mean, they had a shot to the end. They've had 3 straight weeks, or they've had now, or their first 2 weeks, the games both ended with shots to the end zone from the other team. Like, it's great for them. Like, this team could be 0-3. This team probably should be 1-2. But here we are, 3-0, and
a very winnable game this week too.
Exactly. Like, this is, Robinson moves from, a wide receiver 2 with upside to now a wide receiver 1 each and every week. Like, he has the quarterback that's going to be aggressive and is going to funnel targets towards him, and he's going to take dumb throw. Like, he's going to make some dumb throws, but that helps with a guy like Robinson, who's very athletic, who can create for himself, he can body out receivers. Like, this is what you want from, if you have Allen Robinson on your fantasy rosters.
So I can't agree with you on the wide receiver 1 thing, but I can agree with you that he goes up a tier, and we had him in different tiers going into the season as well. So I can't agree with you that the change to Nick Foles does bump him up a tier. It bumps him up into that upside wide receiver 2 for me. Because for me, I did not have a lot of faith in him coming into the season with the way things were operating. And through the first 2 weeks, I was absolutely right not to. So, now that we're here, time to adjust. Foles is here, and Robinson is, he's in that top 16, 17 discussion easily without me having to think too hard about it.
Yeah, like it was never about really talent. He had 9 targets in the first 2 weeks.
No, never about talent.
It was always the quarterback play. And while I don't believe in Nick Foles is even close to the long-term answer, I do think he's just a more talented thrower than Trubisky.
He is.
And we saw that in week 3. They're not always going to play against these type of, they're not going to see the same type of opponents every week, but, he has more upside with Nick Foles at the helm.
Yes, he does. Moving on, Texans, Steelers, Deshaun Watson, speaking of guys with upside, another mad day for him. He's currently the quarterback 17. Time to grab a different option and throw Watson in timeout 3 weeks into the season because it looks like the offensive transition, particularly DeAndre Hopkins not being there and moving to David Johnson at running back, who's been somehow less efficient than Carlos Hyde and Lamar Miller.
So Houston gets Minnesota at home.
That should be a game that Watson can show out.
He gets Jacksonville at home the week after that.
Yep.
He gets away at Tennessee. And then before the bye week, he gets home against Green Bay.
And Tennessee's not been good, and Green Bay's not been good defensively. So I think
Green Bay is going to give them fits. They have a really good pass rush, and that's kind of been the bane of Houston's existence. Their offensive line's fucking garbage.
Well, and Watson isn't scrambling.
Yeah,
so
and, he's trying. He doesn't have a guy like Hopkins, to lean on, and it's a bunch of speed guys and a speed slot receiver with some hyper athletic tight ends. And then fucking old man Rivers at running back. So
yeah, Darren said he's got some Makers 46. Good pickup, Darren. Had that on a couple weeks ago. I know he saw it too because he commented on it. Damn good sip. Back to the Bears real quick. One other thing I want to mention before I flip back to Deshaun Watson that I forgot to. Tariq Cohen, torn ACL. Doesn't do a whole lot to move the needle. He's not been fantasy relevant in a year and a half. But back to Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson doesn't do anything against the Vikings, I think you seriously have to consider making that move.
In redraft single QB leagues, you can. I still think you can drop him. He's not he doesn't have top 5 QB upside at this point. Granted, he's played against some really, really tough teams.
He has, and that's why I think that maybe he's a buy low candidate there, given the 5 games upcoming. You just mentioned the fact that there was no preseason repetition for him to get acclimated with some of these new pieces that he has to work with. I think they're in a figuring it out phase, but he's got some soft matchups coming up to where he should be able to figure that out. So it may be a good time to buy low, or if you don't trust it, hold him and stream somebody this week. Because, we preach don't roster 2 quarterbacks and single QB. There are situations where you can make sense for it. And this might be one of those.
We do have to talk about COVID for this game.
Oh, yeah, I skipped over that at the beginning.
Yeah, and then for the Texans Steelers,
let's on-air production meeting. Let's hit COVID when we hit the preview part.
Okay, works for me.
For week 4. Even though I had it at the top of the show script and completely missed it. Eagles, Bengals. Greg Ward, 8 targets, 72 yards. Jalen Reagor's out for a couple more weeks. And now Dallas Goedert has a fractured ankle. So it's going to be Zach Ertz. Yeah, Zach Ertz and a merry cast of humans. They picked up Akeem Butler off of Arizona's practice squad.
We might be at a point, and I saw a little bit on Twitter. Wentz has looked terrible.
Jalen Hurts.
0-3. We might be seeing. We already saw one snap from Jalen Hurts. Granted, I think he fumbled. But this is Philly. Doug Peterson has completely turned into something else. I don't know what the fuck happened to him.
Well, but the line's not been good. Everybody kind of...
Everyone's hurt. And they just, I'm pretty sure Jason Peters got hurt.
Jason Peters
Like,
did get hurt. The line's
so-
not been good. The weapons haven't been there. I don't know how much of this you can put on Peterson and Witz. They're trying to make, mediocre like Subway level chicken salad out of chicken shit. So
I will put everything on Doug Peterson in that overtime. The whole. Ugh.
but they were in position to win it and they took a penalty.
They fucking punted. Still, like they conceded to the tie.
Well, the Bengals conceded the freaking tie at the end when they didn't try to throw a couple Hail Marys
Yeah, and
kneeled it out to take the tie. Like that was conceding to the
ugly.
tie. They were on the edge of Elliott's field goal range anyway. And I thought it was questionable too. Why don't you send him out there to kick it? He's got a big leg. Who knows? But they were in position to win it, and they took a false start on the kick.
Yep.
And that essentially
59-yard kick, and they took the 5-yard penalty.
Yeah.
Instead of at least going for, and like it was 4th and 26, long shot, but still, like take a chance.
Yeah. So I mean, coaching wise, you're right, but as far as even being in that position, losing to the football team in the first 2 weeks, and that is interesting. And if you go to Hurts, I don't know if it's the right decision for Hurts' development.
I don't think it is
because
either, but
you run into a
still see
Dwayne. Yeah, you run into a Dwayne Haskins situation where you're putting him in. Hurts to me is more talented than Haskins, but you put him in a position where he doesn't have anything around him, and what do you do to a player's psyche? Don't typically worry about the Hurts psyche given how good he was at Alabama with the Tua thing, and then transitioning to Oklahoma. He's a well put together kid, but and I don't know what that does for anybody other than Jalen Hurts as then a viable fantasy option, because there's freaking nobody. I mean, Zach Ertz is more viable now that Goddard's gone. He should be back to being elite, but beyond that, Greg Ward.
I still think pick up Greg Ward.
You got to pick up Greg Ward.
Your double-digit touch or targets every week. Like,
well,
no one else to throw to.
And he was relevant last year too when they were in the same situation. So you've got to go with Greg Ward, because your guys beyond that are Deontay Burnett, and that's how little there are behind him. It's like,
that's gross.
Yeah, it's not good. And even just signing Hakeem Butler, who we believe is talented, you still got to get a guy up to speed on the offense before they're worth anything. Jeffrey's not going to be back until at least week 6. Rager's still got about 3 more weeks on his finger injury. So, yeah, it's not good there. On the Bengals front, do you drop AJ Green?
Oof.
Target volume was down week over.
Targets are there. That's ultimately what you're looking for in a plus matchup flex option.
Well,
where I know the targets aren't being converted, but what else do we have to go off of? Like, he's getting the chance to get to production.
Actually, I was just going to say they're down, because they are down week over week. He did see 13 in week 2, but
just 6, yeah.
Just 6 this week in a close game. 9 in week 1, 13 in week 2, down to 6. Was tough matchup. Was Philly. There is Slay.
But maybe we're seeing the rise of T. Higgins. Higgins led the team. I know you don't like bringing up snaps, but this is where our listeners can jump ahead in the waiver form. Higgins multiple touchdowns.
Well,
has become a potential, like him and Boyd. Green may end up being traded at this point,
right? Because Tyler Boyd's the unquestioned wide receiver 1, 13 targets, 10 receptions, 125 yards. Tyler Boyd's the wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. T. Higgins, you mention I don't like snap count, and you're right, but T. Higgins also saw 2 touchdowns and 9 targets with the lead in snap count. So it's not just snap count with him. You can say he led in snap count, and then what did he do with it? He got himself 9 targets and 2 touchdowns and out-targeted A.J. Green. Okay, now I want to jump out ahead and grab T. Higgins, and I would encourage your listeners to do the same thing, because I think T. Higgins is going to emerge, and A.J. Green's in the, Roddy White with Julio Jones phase of his career, Andre Johnson with DeAndre Hopkins phase of his career.
Yeah, and they get Jacksonville next week. So I know there's a lot of mixing people out there, myself included, not looking great. This is one of the few times where all I want to do is grab the coach by the fucking shoulders and shake him and ask, why the fuck are you so oblivious to the talent you have that you want to roll out fucking Gio Bernard on third down and just, let Joe Burrow continuously get pounded on? Like, this is the fact that Joe Burrow has thrown over 100 passes in 2 weeks. I think he leads the league in passing attempts. Is a trend. This is a recipe for disaster. Bad offensive line. Burrow has taken a lot of hits, and you're literally asking them to go out there and win you games. Great, fine. It could work out for you. It really could. But you have a talented running back that you just paid and extended for that could be a massive relief, and you just choose not to use him. Just flat out, we're going to telegraph when he's getting touches, and we won't target him he is one of the most elusive running backs. He was the most elusive running back last year. You see how good he is in space, even with the bad offensive line, and you still choose to misuse him. It's like you may have to just throw Mix on the bench after this week. He's playing Jacksonville, you don't bench him now, but they get Baltimore in week 5, and
that's going to be rough.
It comes a point in time where you have to look past start your studs and go, I got to see something from the head coach, because I don't know what changed from week 9 to last year to where we are right now. It just doesn't make sense to me.
You got to be a stud to qualify for start your studs. But
Oof, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there it was.
It's not Mixon, man. It's fucking.
I agree that he has been a bit misused, because you should use him in space more, because he is elusive, and if he's a guy you can get outside, you can use in space. He's athletic enough, he's talented enough. And, right now, he's getting freaking 3.3 yards an attempt, trying to just straight rush him, and why? They've either got to open the offense up, and that passing game has to continue to progress, which it has. It's gotten better each of the last 3 weeks, to give him a little bit more space to operate. But there are ways that they could utilize Mixon. But I agree. It's kind of like the Deshaun Watson situation, and I was going to hold off on Mixon until after the Jacksonville game, hoping we wouldn't have to have the conversation, but let's just have it a week early. It's the same thing with Deshaun Watson against the Vikings. You got a matchup where he should be able to perform, and has performed average to below average at best the first couple weeks. If they don't perform, you've got to seriously consider going to other options, because you can't, at this point, depending on where your team is at, you may not be at a point where you can afford to keep riding that and start having to adapt. First couple weeks,
don't drop Mixon.
No, you're not dropping him, but you need to stash him and hope he figures it out and go a different route. Maybe churn one of your other position players and pick up an extra back.
Because what's crazy is he's 6 in opportunity share. For those of you who aren't aware what opportunity share is, it takes the carries and the targets in the running back backfield, and it divvies them up. Being compared to other running backs in that backfield. So 78.2%. He's 5th in routes run as a running back. This is just blatantly, maybe it's not exactly, maybe it's just Joe Burrow who doesn't want to check the football down, but the opportunity is there for Mixon. It's just not coming through. And if you can't get it done in a very plus matchup next week, you're probably not going to play him in week 5 against Baltimore. We're at the point where some teams are 0-3, 1-2, who's running Mixon out if they don't have, other better options at running back. But it's it's gross, but it is really gross right now.
It is. All right. So I think we've beaten the Bengals to death.
Yeah, we did.
We've beaten well, never mind. There was a Tiger King joke in there someplace. Moving along. The Giants played a football game, albeit not well. They're bad. There's nobody that you should consider a must start, and Darius Slayton's about the only one you can even consider a must hold on to at this point. Anything else on the Giants? Because I don't think they deserve a lot of airtime.
No, this Darius Slayton, and I don't know what Evan Ingram's been doing, but it's probably not good. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. And then Jeff Wilson, this is for the Niners, by the way. Jeff Wilson, Jerick McKinnon split carries. So as long as Mostert's out, then it's going to be a hot hand approach. Neither one of them got hot. So that's, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, Jeff Wilson got 2 touchdowns that won me a stupid prop bet. So I'm happy. Thanks, Jeff Wilson.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Let's go to something more fun. Vikings defense is bad. We know that. They figure to be in a lot of games that either have to be high scoring or not. And we had some questions about the pieces the Vikings had and whether there was enough there to be high scoring, given that Adam Thielen was, kind of their only proven wide receiver commodity. Enter Justin Jefferson this week, 7 receptions on 9 targets, 175 yards, tripled his target volume of 3 from the previous 2 weeks. This is a coming out party for Justin Jefferson. Do we expect Justin Jefferson to be now entrenched in that Stephon Diggs role to where you're seeing him get more of a split with Thielen, maybe not double-digit targets, but in that very usable 5 to 8 target a game range, and can make use of that? Or are we expecting this to still all just kind of funnel through Thielen and Cook?
Next 3 games: Houston,
Good.
Seattle,
Good.
Atlanta.
Good.
Bye week, Packers,
Good.
Lions, and then week
Good.
10, the Bears. Justin Jefferson, for as long as the defenses want to shade coverage to Adam Thielen, will be a wide receiver 2 every week. 9 targets. He was massively second on snaps. It is his job.
I agree.
Olabisi Johnson is a fucking afterthought. No one cares about him.
So is Chad Beebe, and the Irv Smith, Kyle Rudolph split is not coming to fruition. Justin Jefferson emerging is exactly what the Vikings offense needed to kind of be somewhat close to competent, especially since the defense is going to lead to a lot of blowouts this year.
As long as this game holds, Danielle Hunter should be back. The pass rush should be there, hopefully.
Thank God for my IDP
which is
team.
going to help against it's going to help try to cover up a Petrid secondary, which is also not great for Houston, but we'll get to the previews there. But either way, they're playing against good offenses. This defense sucks. Kirk Cousins will funnel targets to his number 2 options. Last year was Diggs and Thielen. We saw it in 2018 when both receivers were healthy. As long as Thielen is drawing top coverage plus potential shade, Justin Jefferson is going to feast. And we saw the breakout against Tennessee. We're going to continue to see that, especially against Houston, and that, again, Petrid. They have, a horrible secondary. Good pass rush, so it could be
such a bad secondary. Dan had to make up a word because putrid didn't even work for it.
Nope. I make up words all the time.
You do.
Petrid,
I'm not surprised by it. Petrid. Yeah, and one other takeaway for the Titans, by the way, also is secondary targets for the Titans. Yeah, they're doing well this year. Anyway, I have nothing else on that on that front or that game. I completely agree on Justin Jefferson. You go pick him up right now. If he's on, he may or may not be on waivers. I know he was drafted late in some leagues. If he is, don't let him be into the next week because I expect another good game out of him.
Yep.
Chargers Panthers. Only thing here is that Keenan Allen very much back. 19 targets, 13 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Herbert only missed 14 passes out of the 49. He went 330 yards and a touchdown. Much more wide open offense here with Justin Herbert. Bodes well for Keenan Allen, but we talked about how it boded well for Hunter Henry. And Tyrod Taylor out indefinitely. Question is, Keenan Allen sustain this as long as Justin Herbert's under center?
Yeah, he is. He's back to his wide receiver 2 floor. He'll have upside for as long as he gets a touchdown, but he's always had a chance to lead the league in targets, at least be top 5, and that is now back to fruition with Justin Herbert at the helm and just funneling targets to Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Hunter Henry.
Yep. I'm with you 100% on that. I think that he's back. Justin Herbert's the best thing that could have happened to this offense. We knew it wasn't going to be Tyrod Taylor. Justin Herbert's looked good the first couple weeks.
He's looked Like he came down to earth last week, but like he's looked better than even I
Well,
expected.
yeah, down to earth, but the stat line was still good.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really all you want to see anyway. So.
That's what fantasy is stat lines. Broncos, Jeff Driscoll yanked for Brett Rippon. No offense, all 10 targets, and that was the only thing that was close to relevant. Jerry Jeudy, just mediocre. Until Drew Lock's back, I don't know how much you can trust anything with the Broncos unless it's, Noah Fant, because tight end's generally weak anyway, or Melvin Gordon. He's been serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy, 9 targets, just didn't get the touchdown.
Well, there was 9 for
Patrick.
Wasn't it like 9 for 5 and 50 yards though for Jeudy?
Yeah, 9-5, 55. I mean, for a flex option with all the injuries we're seeing right now, that's 10 points and full point. That's pretty much serviceable as a flex option.
Yeah.
You gotta hope. I get not wanting to go to Blake Bortles right now, but
it's capped up. So and Bortles. Yeah. If Rippon struggles, I hope they go to Bortles. I just hope he's up to speed enough for that to happen, because that is the best thing that can happen for your fantasy pieces right now is Blake Bortles until Drew Lock gets back. But, you sign a quarterback off the street, you got to get him up to speed before you can consider that. I don't think anybody's questioning whether Blake Bortles is more talented than Brett Rippon.
And no one really cares about Blake Bortles or Brett Rippon. They just want to have the best quarterback to support your Fant and your Jeudy.
Yeah, and the thing with Jeudy that I want to bring up, you mentioned him being a flex option. I agree. You can plug him in and have him be serviceable, but I think most weeks you're probably going to have a higher upside option there as long as Brett Rippon or Jeff Driscoll's under center. Blake Bortles comes in, different story.
I think the only person that I want to play here with any sort of confidence is Noah Fant. That's really it. He is the safety blanket for whoever comes in. He is the hyper athletic tight end that can make, he can be the guy that gets, 4 catches but takes one to the house.
I agree.
Him and Jonnu Smith are very much alike in that sense, where they don't need a lot of targets to be productive. Seeing 10 targets, though, is very encouraging.
Yeah.
For him moving forward.
Sure thing. Oh, especially with Sutton out too.
Yeah.
Jets Colts. Braxton Berrios is a waiver guy at this point. 123 yards, 2 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. Berrios is a guy that a couple of years back we flagged as a potential late round guy that could produce. Hasn't really gotten the chance to until now, and he's produced flex value the last 2 weeks on a bad offense that really is kind of in the same boat as the Eagles as far as injuries go. Jamison Crowder was estimated as limited. Jamison Crowder comes back. That is going to kill your upside there, because I don't think that this offense is going to support more than one wide receiver. But, for right now and until you hear that Crowder's playing, Braxton Berrios is just keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, short week. They get Denver Thursday night. Potentially, maybe you won't get back your Crowder or your Pyramid. Mims is still out on IR. Berrios 4 targets, 80% of the snaps. So he's getting the opportunity when he's out there to a certain extent. I still don't love anybody on this team. I'll be completely honest. I know Berrios has gotten the touchdowns, but it's just like this thing with Denver. Do you really feel confident in Braxton Berrios' upside in the flex spot? I don't. I don't see the upside.
So a little more than Judy's, and I only say a little more than Judy's because of the fact that Sam Darnold, despite Adam Gase, is a bit more competent than Brett Rippon.
Well,
I think
when the Jets lose to the Broncos Thursday night in Jets fashion, Gase should be canned.
Yeah.
I say that as we hope so, but this might be the best scene for Darnold moving forward. Let's hope.
It could be, but yeah. I feel again. Yeah, I saw that report also, Darren, that Gase is losing his job with a loss. That report did come out today, so
okay.
Hopefully that is true and that is happening, and I hope Blake Bortles drives a dagger through his heart. I'm hoping that if Brett Rippon's terrible, they go to Bortles and that happens.
Bortles leaves garbage time victory is Adam Gase.
Adam Gase's downfall.
It's left in
Is
Denver.
Gase being a former Bears coach and me being the Blake Bortles truther that I am? Could there be a more perfect ending to that?
Oh, that'd be so fitting.
Yeah, it would be. T.Y. Hilton, droppable. Target volumes dropped every week from 9 to 5 to 3. Rivers spreading the ball out. Not really a wide receiver on the Colts that I'm super interested in.
I mean, this game was pretty much in their favor. I mean, 2 defensive touchdowns, especially one early. Pick 6 on, I think, the first throw of the game.
Sure, except
really led away from having him to be used. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. So,
It's been Pittman and Doyle though too when they have been in games where they've had to throw. It's not so much been Hilton.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. It's
the AJ Green situation, except clear downward trend in targets, unlike with AJ Green.
You would hope that he gets moved on to a different team, with the team sitting 2-1 in it's still a wide open division. The Titans, I believe, are 2-1 as well. 2-1. So
3-0, I think.
I expect Houston to bounce back after the worst 3-game stretch in football for any team. So it's Ty will have his day.
Yeah,
they get the Bears next week, and then Cleveland and Cincinnati before the bye. So better days ahead, I think, after week 4.
Yeah, probably not against the Bears, but maybe against Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cowboys, Seahawks. If you grabbed Cedric Wilson and started him for some reason, congratulations to you, because he had a monster game. I don't know if you go chasing those points. I think that's more of just a weird thing. Given all the options here, do not go using your waiver wire claims on Cedric Wilson points. But good for him, and good for anybody that saw that one coming. But the fact is, Cowboys and Seahawks, regardless of who they're playing, their fantasy just freaking dream spots, and you're running every piece out there every week because how good these offenses are and how not good these defenses are.
I mean, stupid bet number 2. I put some money down on Dak Prescott being the passing yard leader on just Sunday and won a bunch of money because of just how bad Dallas's defense is, and just how bad Seahawks just don't give a fuck about their defense.
Yeah, I was 7-9 in bets on Sunday, by the way.
I had a good week. I had a bunch of money. So outside of the ridiculously bad defensive penalty against the Rams that took away their chance at a comeback win that would have hit my 14 parlay, I still had a really good week. So, but as for fantasy wise, I mean, what more can you ask for when you get to face these teams? Like, elite offense. They finally want Russell Wilson throwing the football, and both defenses are bad. The only thing that makes me a bit nervous is I haven't looked at Dallas' schedule is that they have also played against good offenses, and they haven't played anybody in their division.
And the same thing can be said for Seattle, Atlanta. Actually, this week I thought was going to see a downturn, and that didn't happen because I didn't think the Bears would be able to keep up. But Seattle, Atlanta, the Rams, Dallas, they're all even Arizona. They're all kind of in the same boat to where the offenses are just good. Not Arizona, because Arizona is all funneling one way. But
true.
Atlanta, Seattle, Dallas are all kind of the same team in the sense of where it's crap defense, good offense, and as long as they're playing a team that can at least competently somewhat score, those are going to be high-scoring games and good fantasy games.
Yeah, like you're playing all 3. You can now play all 3 receivers in Dallas. You may have to eat a couple weeks now and then, but the upside is
you may you ate a Met week from CeeDee Lamb this week though, and it was still 10+ points in PPR. So
yeah, I mean Michael Gallup finally got going, and that helped me win some money too. But it's.
Speaking of the Cardinals, I don't really have anything on the Cardinals, but they played the Lions, and I do. And Adrian Peterson looks like that top job is his. 23 touches, just 4 for carry on, 1 for Swift. Not a game where it game script dictated, Adrian Peterson just running the football and grinding it out. So, if you're the Johnson or the Swift owner in redraft, what do you do with those two, given the fact that you can't even consider starting them at the moment?
Well, this is like Cincinnati. Like, you have one of the better talented running backs, at least prospects. We haven't seen Swift do it.
Well, you've got two very talented running backs, because Johnson's still a good back as long as he's healthy.
Johnson's good, but we know that he can't be a bell cow. He can't stay healthy.
Right.
Peterson has no fucking business. A, being on this team, and B, seeing 22 fucking touches. I'm sorry. Like for fantasy, you want to own Adrian Peterson. For dynasty, fucking sell him as fast as you can. But it's a fucking travesty that Swift is being held back this much by completely inept coaching.
Well, and like Darren says, Patricia is clueless, and he is, because where are you going with this team? You bring in a 35-year-old running back, and where is this team supposed to be headed? What direction are the Lions headed? Because they're not young and up and coming, and they're not rebuilding, and they're not retooling. It's just like they try to bring in these individual pieces that don't fit each other and then beat on the puzzle and say, why won't this click? Why won't this work? Just trying to ramrod shit in there.
Unless Swift had some, unless he had a setback from his injury to begin the season, this was a prime game for him.
Yeah.
Lead offense,
passing volume, required. The first 2 weeks without Galladay could have been valuable for him, and they weren't. Now Galladay's back, and that's that much less passing volume.
If you drop Swift in the redraft, I won't blame you for it. He's not going to get picked up unless you have deep rosters or unless you have deep benches and you want to sit and wait. With the amount of injuries now, with 4 teams potentially having issues with COVID, 2 games having potential issues with not even being played. It's if you drop him, you drop him. It's tough though, because you spent the 5th round pick on him, not in just seeing this mess.
Well, that's the risk with rookie running backs. Sometimes they're Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and sometimes they're DeAndre Swift, and you just don't know how it's gonna go.
Yeah, and that's
of course Adrian Peterson wasn't signed there either at the time when a lot of leagues drafted. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
it just pains me to think about it. What about Christian Kirk? He didn't play Sunday, but it's not like he wasn't even really seeing high uptick in production. We assumed a slowdown from Hopkins when he made that movement, and clearly
didn't. That didn't happen. I thought they'd be spreading it out more. As far as Kirk goes, though,
9 targets in 2 games. That's
that's a tough one, and they're not really. Man. So it's tough for me, and here's why. You started off against San Francisco, Washington, Detroit. San Francisco tries to edge you down with defense in the running game. Washington is Washington. Detroit, not that great of a defense, not that high scoring of an offense. They're okay, but they're not Dallas and Seattle. And Arizona gets Dallas and Seattle back-to-back in week 6 and 7. But the problem before you get there is you get Carolina and the Jets, which good matchup, but not matchups where you're typically going to have to use multiple wide receivers to win those games. So, you can hold Christian Kirk till week 6 or 7 on your bench if there's nobody better out there. I don't think you have to feel bad in dropping him, because you're going to have another 2 weeks or so where I don't think he comes anywhere close to being productive. But week 6, 7 bye. And then Miami, I would honestly, I look at Kirk and I look at their schedule, and I would say you stream them week 6 and 7 against Dallas and Seattle, again week 11 against Seattle, make a case for it week 13 against the Rams, and 17 against the Rams. And other than that, I don't see matchups I love.
And we'll know a bit on where his injury stands. Obviously, this 3-game road trip that they're about to go on, this is the Cardinals, is always tough. And we've seen what Carolina can be, but as you said, game script. This is not a great Cardinals team either, though. They look pretty bad against Detroit. They just happened to be playing against another bad team, and they were close enough to try to win this one. But it is I'm there. You can keep riding the train with Kirk, and hopefully by week 6 or 7 you can get a hit. Like if he blows up, maybe you can.
If you don't get anything out of him week 6 or 7, then you're at a definite drop point with him.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I think you just stash him on your bench for the next 2 weeks and then see where we're at.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's get into week 4.
Weekly preview.
All right. Starting this off, cliff note, foot.
We just skipped the last 2 games.
Did we?
Saints and Packers.
Do I care? Okay.
Well, Lazard, you want to pick up
Okay,
Lazard?
yeah. Lazard, yeah, the last game. Lazard, pick up Lazard. He should be rostered everywhere. 6 receptions, 8 targets, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Valdez Scantling. Lattimore's healthy, right?
He was, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Valdez Scantling likely drew Lattimore, and Lazard went off. But as long as Adams, even if he's not, Lazard is a serviceable piece that has a nice floor to him. So just keep him around. Okay, now we can get into week 4. So starting this off with a footnote, NFL has had a COVID outbreak. 5 Titans personnel and 3 players have tested positive. And there's a chance right now, it's still earlier in the week, only being, I think it's Tuesday, that these games get moved. Vikings are impacted, Steelers, Houston, and then Tennessee. There's a chance they only get moved out to Monday. Titans are not going to be allowed to practice until Saturday. There's a chance that bye weeks and stuff get flopped around, so we don't know. So you're going to have to keep an eye on these games and on, what could potentially happen. And, just be prepared to adjust or adapt if you own key fantasy pieces on these teams, and you very well could. Be prepared to adjust and adapt, treat it like a bye week if you can. If they go Monday night, then you just start your normal people with confidence. Anything else we need to say on that? I don't think there is. I think that covered it.
And how the NFL handles this right now, it should be kind of a look into how they're going to handle it moving forward. Obviously, case by case, depending on the outbreak, it should ultimately give you an idea of what should become of it. But how they handle it right now with this first initial outbreak should kind of give us a look into how they'll handle it in the future.
Yep. All right, Broncos, Jets. Let's go ahead and start with that. Broncos are favored by 1.5. Odds are even at 108, over under 40. I'm not betting the Jets money line at even odds. So I'm not betting this game. Honestly, I don't want to touch this. Maybe you can take the under. That might be
the Broncos spread. I mean, it's +1 and it's even money at. If I'm betting this game, I'm betting
Broncos spread it has the best odds at even money, even though it's only 1.5. And at that point, you're just betting it because it is the best odds, not because you feel good about doing it. So
it's so gross, man.
It is gross. This whole game's going to be gross.
I'll bet this game because it's Thursday night, and I'll do prop bets because that's where I've been making my money from is prop bets. But fuck, man, this is going to be ugly.
All right, so Crowder, if he plays, Barrios if he doesn't. Nothing else from the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
And those are both flex considerations.
Caleb Elijah was, I think he was second on the team in targets with 5.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see Denver pushing the pace. It should be Frank Clark in the start. But Noah Fant.
And Melvin Gordon.
Gordon, Fant, Judy if you really need somebody, and Braxton Berrios if you really need somebody.
Or Jamison Crowder if he's healthy and scratch Berrios.
And I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
If Crowder is healthy, I don't think he'll play. And even then, he was doubtful. It'd be smart for them to just let him sit through the early week. But yeah, this is we've said enough about this game.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. Cardinals Panthers. Cardinals favored by 3.5 plus 100 odds. And over under here is 52.5. If I'm betting this one, I'm probably taking the Cardinals at 3.5.
Darren said Lindsey may be back again for the Broncos.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, short week. I just don't trust teams trying to rush back people on a short week.
And
But
I don't.
be right there. If Lindsey's back, I don't think it changes.
I don't think it moves the needle anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it moves any needle for me.
Yeah. Cardinals Panthers. Cardinals favored by 3.5 points. I like the spread for Arizona here at even money. That's a genuine like, not just because the odds are good. Other than that, I don't know because I don't know what Carolina's going to do that I want to touch the over-under.
Mike Davis, 8 targets.
Yeah.
I do like him for fantasy. And if they were able to score 20 points against a far better Chargers defense. So,
yeah,
if Arizona does push the pace, which we expect them to do, I do like the over in this game.
Yeah.
Most games have gone over this year. It's been fucking nuts.
Yep. As far as actual fantasy players, this game's pretty chalk. DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson is in the same boat as like a Jerry Jeudy, to where you can absolutely flex him. There is upside there with Robbie Anderson. So if you need a third wide receiver to start, I'm pretty confident, especially in this game, that you can put Robbie Anderson out there. As far as everything else, it's DeAndre Hopkins, you're obviously starting him. Kyler Murray, you're obviously starting him. Kenyon Drake, you're fine keeping him plugged in. And I just don't think that there's a whole lot here that you really need to assess or work your way through. Robbie Anderson's the only one that I can really look at and say, okay, yeah, you might need advice here. Robbie Anderson's not a bad start in this game.
He's averaging 8 targets the last 3 games. He's averaging just under 7 catches in these games, more receiving yards, and has a touchdown. Robbie Anderson is a fine play this week. I think he's more than a flex plus. It's him and DJ Moore. Curtis Samuel is playing the hybrid role without the loss of McCaffrey. I spoke about Mike Davis. He saw 9. He's seen 17 targets in 2 games. He's had he's productive, and did it against a very good Chargers defense last week. He's not productive on the ground, but if he's going to get 8 targets a game, you're going to fucking play Mike Davis. It's like he is a flex. He's a flex plus play, potential RB2 with touchdown upside, because he is the goal line back. Mike Davis is more than worthy this week to play.
Yeah, especially against a defense that still lacks.
I gave up 75 yards to Adrian Peterson this past week.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good call out as well. Mike Davis, you're also okay with. So, a couple flex plays from that game. I have nothing else for the Cardinals-Panthers game.
Nope.
All right, Ravens and the Washington Shower Curtains. Negative 13-point spread. I don't care. I don't care who it is. I don't like double-digit spreads.
I there's a part of me that just wants to alternate. It just wants to do alternate spread. But if I'm getting minus 110 on minus 13 odds, that's I'll take the over. Maybe I think, I don't know. I'm staying far away from this game.
I want to stay far away from this game too. The odds negative 770 for Baltimore.
For the money line.
Over under is 47. You can maybe take the over here. I'm staying far away from this game as well. So let's just focus on the fantasy components here, because I'm staying far away from the sports books on this one. I don't like this game. Look, I don't like this game for a lot. Terry McLaurin is your most surefire start for the football team. As far as the Ravens go, we saw what can happen with those wide receivers. Mark Andrews hasn't been utilized heavy. The running backs have been relatively unimpressive. Is it anybody other than Lamar Jackson?
I mean, if Mark Andrews is healthy, I don't know if you watched the game last night. I'm sure you did.
I didn't. I was laying
Lamar
down
Jackson
the floor.
got a lot of shit for how he played, especially as a passer, because he did not look relatively great. But Mark Andrews had like 2 drops, one of which was in his hands, like literally in his fucking basket in the end zone.
Yeah.
You can tell that the ankle is greatly bothering him. But as long as he's healthy, he's worth being played. Marquise Brown is just he's
don't
the
think
target. Like game pace or game script just not going to be great for him. I almost think you can maybe get away with Mark Ingram.
I think you can get away with Mark Ingram this week too, because I think this is gonna be a game where they're up, and you're not gonna run Lamar Jackson if you're up because you want to protect him. So just let him hand it off to Ingram, let him do that work.
Yeah, I think you could see an uptick in Ingram, Edwards, and even Dobbins in the same play. But if I'm starting somebody, it's going to be Ingram. Just I expect them to get the majority of their early work.
Yep. All right, Browns Cowboys. Browns offense has actually looked competent here recently.
Yeah.
It's plus 4.5 spread for the Browns. Over under on this game is 55. I don't know if this one goes over. But Dallas. Hell, give me the Dallas spread if I'm picking one. -4.5.
Yeah,
I think they can win by a touchdown.
Dallas second half when they're down by 10 points going into halftime.
Yeah.
If anyone's familiar with with FanDuel and sports books, they do live betting, so they'll update the spread odds, the money line, and the over under as the games go along.
Yeah, my problem with that is that for week 4 being the last week I have to deal with this, if I'm watching the football games, I'm sitting in Missouri where I don't have sports betting.
Damn it, that's fair.
So I can't live bet.
Okay, but
if you can,
future, Dallas, just like Atlanta. Whoever Atlanta's playing, just take that team in the second half when Atlanta's about to blow a double-digit lead. So
right. Fantasy-wise here, open the floodgates. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Baker Mayfield, not a bad stream this week. Dak Prescott, all 3 Dallas wide receivers. I'll let you plug Dalton Schultz if you want to.
He
didn't have a bad game.
He's still the 4th option, 5th option if you count Zeke. Dalton Schultz got his play in week 2.
You were all about him last week, so I was just giving you the chance.
Yeah, I mean 6 targets, 4 catches, 48 yards. Like
it wasn't a bad week.
Those are what you want from your tight end streamer option. Schultz has any bit of high upside. It's most tight ends that are not named Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, or Mandrews. So I think you're fine plugging in Dalton Schultz. Maybe Jarvis Landry. Is he healthy? Is he finally I feel like he hasn't been healthy this entire season. He's played, obviously.
He's played, but yeah, he hasn't been really haven't been anything on the injury reports or anything like that. So, I'd assume he's getting better and getting back into it. I think it's just a game where you can go gangbusters with. Yeah, you can start Landry. Yeah. You can start Beckham. Baker, like I said, is a good stream. Both running backs. Anything that wears the Cowboys logo for the most part. I mean, this is a game where you can just go gangbusters. Again, I don't know that you go over 55 with this one. You could. If I'm betting the over-under, I'm taking the over. But, it's a game that's fantasy hotness.
Yeah, I mean, this is an offense. This is a Cleveland offense that gets it done running the football. If Dallas gets up early, then you could see maybe we'll get some Baker fireworks, but he just hasn't looked particularly fantasy great. He hasn't really killed you since week 1, but plus matchup, stream worthy in 2 QB leagues. I'm still wouldn't play him in single QB leagues. I just don't think the offense wants to have him be the focal point and let both Hunt and Chubb, who are easily RB2s every week plus, will dictate the scoring in that game. And you just hope that maybe Baker can get 2 touchdowns like he's done the last 2 weeks.
Sure. I'll stand by the fact that even in 1 QB leagues, I'm potentially looking at him as a streamer option.
Yeah.
So
I don't hate it. I just don't love how the Browns want to run their offense strictly through the running game.
All right, Colts, Bears. Bears plus 122 odds. I'd just take the Bears money line on this one. Over under is 44.5. That's probably about fair. No, that game probably goes over too, honestly.
Well, I'm trying to find the Bears. Where am I missing? Oh, the Colts. I'm sorry. Yeah, Colts. Yeah, I'd take Bears money line.
Bears money line and probably the over on this one.
I think the over/under set fine. I think if the Bears defense at home, if they step up against a pretty inconsistent Colts offense, they can contain Jonathan Taylor and just like Phillip Rivers, dink and dunk. This game could go under. I think it's fine. I would honestly just take the Bears money line.
The more I think about it, I probably am just money line. I'm going to back off that over/under claim now. I just did some math in my head. This game very easily could go 21-17.
Yeah. I'm probably going to be pairing up the Bears with my main parlay this week. The Bears money line will probably be a part of that.
Yep. So Bears money line with Nick Foles playing. Colts defense is just simply average. I think that you can have some confidence in Allen Robinson. Obviously, Allen Robinson. Anthony Miller, not a bad plug-in. I think you have a little bit more upside there than you do with a guy like Jerry Jeudy playing with the third-string quarterback. Jimmy Graham, I think, is a fine start at tight end this week. Nick Foles, we know, will utilize tight ends. He did it in Philly a lot, and we saw Jimmy Graham come out and have the best game he's had in literally 3 years. So
he's averaging 6 targets.
Yeah.
3 games. He's got 10 catches. And if they're going to utilize him the way that Seattle did, where he's just scoring touchdowns, and if the Bears,
he's easily their best red zone weapon right now.
Well, it should be A-Rob, but if Graham is always a midrash, even at his age now, he's still a threat in the red zone. So as long as the Bears are down there, they keep losing running backs. Graham has every bit of a streaming.
Speaking of losing running backs, David Montgomery right now is a week in, week out start.
I think he has to be 9 targets this year, averaging 3 games. Obviously not the receiving production you really want to see right now, but he's averaging 4.5 yards per clip, 191 yards on the ground right now. I like without Tariq Cohen and Patterson strictly as a gadget player, if the Bears get up early, they can ride him out, and he can be a fine RB2 plus.
Yep, and they will too. They've shown a willingness to do that. Jaguars, Bengals. Bengals favored by 3 in this one. Jaguars plus 134 odds. Over under on this is 49.5. This could be a weirdly good game. I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched at this stage of where they're at. I don't. If I'm betting it, I'm probably just taking the better odds on Jacksonville because I think this one's kind of a toss-up.
I mean, the whole team's getting 3 points because they're the home team. This would be a what the hell is the term for an even game? This
push.
Would be just this would be a push on neutral field. So if DJ Chark's playing, if Chark is playing, I'm taking Jacksonville money line. Cincinnati's, or if Chark's not, I'll take Cincinnati in the spread. I don't like the over under because I don't
like the over under either because I could see this one going either way.
This could be 65 total points. This could be like
this could be 20. This could be 42.
Could be ugly. This could be bad.
DJ Chark playing, as you mentioned, he's a fine start. And, Gardner Minshew again. This is a good game to just play Minshew. Honestly. Joe Burrow's an okay stream in this one. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, we talked about them early enough in the week. T. Higgins is a waiver pickup. I don't know that we need to do a whole lot of analysis on this game, especially from the Bengals' perspective, because we broke them down earlier. Yeah. And I think everything we said earlier applies. You look at Jacksonville and you consider it's pretty much a neutral to good defensive matchup, which means you're good with Tyler Boyd. You're hoping Joe Mixon can get it right. You're good with T. Higgins. He's seeing target volume. Joe Burrow is streamable.
And you're playing James Robinson.
James Robinson.
Right now is an RB2 plus. So
Yep. DJ Chark if he plays, and Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
All very playable.
Yep. Agree.
All right, moving on. Chargers Buccaneers. Bucks favored by 7.5. Chargers plus 250 odds. Over under on this one's 43.5. Herbert starting. The only thing I like here is the over.
Tampa Bay plus 105 and that 7.5 odds. This could be a game if you like to tease. Teasing, I think you can only tease if you're doing parlays, and generally it'll allow you to get 6 points in either direction that you want. This could be a fun game to tease to get Tampa Bay down to just minus 1.5 as part of a bigger parlay, or if you like the Chargers to bump them up. I don't hate Tampa Bay even by a touchdown and a half. I don't love it. I like the odds that more come with it, but
yeah,
I don't still quite know who the fuck they are.
I don't either, and that's why I don't love 7.5. And Herbert with the Chargers offense has shown us the last 2 weeks that they're capable of putting up 30. So, they didn't, but I think that they could. And Tampa Bay's defense is still not great. So, I mean, this one for me, I'm just looking at it and saying, yep, give me the over.
It depends. If Tampa Bay gets up early, man, I don't like this. Like, I don't like the over under. That number screams trap to me.
I love the over. I'm not even scared of trap. It is hot and sweet, just like those Remus.
There you go.
Here we go. There's the segue I was looking for. Like I said, cast strength. Typically, with cast strength, you're gonna get heat, and this is exactly what you'd expect out of 125.7. But what you get out of this isn't just proof heat. It has a lot of spice to it. MGP does a lot of good high rye bourbons, and this definitely is one of them. And that rye spice, which is typically cinnamon. Sometimes you'll get pepper out of it, but it definitely shows through in this one. Actually, when I was drinking it fresh before it had a chance to air out the other day, it was making me chew, just because you had that same lingering heat after you just ate for me medium heat wings or whatever. So you get that same type of tongue tingle as if you had just eaten hot wings. So it's really good, especially if you like spice. Now that it's opened up a little bit, there definitely is a lot of caramel and vanilla and kind of a burnt brown sugar sweetness to it as well that goes along with that heat. It's definition of sweet heat. It's a great combination of the two things. You have to like spice with this one. It's not like one to where if you like either thing, you're going to be satisfied. You have to like spice regardless, but you get a lot of sweetness out of this one as well. It's very, very good. Very well done. Again, it is a store pick, so results may vary based on different store picks or where you find it, but very, very solid. Wine and Cheese Place did a good job with this one.
I like it.
All right. Back to Chargers Bucks. So Keenan Allen, obviously. Josh Kelly is going to be the big question mark here because he's pretty game script dependent, I think.
I'm not touching Kelly.
Think more Eckler?
Eckler all the way. Especially, I don't expect the Chargers to be.
I don't expect him to be up and trying to run a game out.
Yeah, it's Eckler, Henry, Allen. I don't want to play the running back. We just saw Rojo be the more productive back this past week. I think Fournette's back to just.
Well, and it was for Fournette week 2, so I think we need a little more time to figure out what Tampa Bay is doing.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's Godwin.
Well, Godwin may miss. It came out earlier. Godwin might miss
right.
multiple weeks with a hamstring injury, so it's Evans. It's Evans and Scotty Miller.
Gronk at 7. I think Gronk led the team in targets last week.
Scotty Miller's had back-to-back good weeks.
Yeah, if Godwin is to miss significant time, it's Scotty Miller. I don't know if this matchup screams flex value though.
It doesn't, but I could also make the argument that I don't know that last week screamed massive flex value either against Tampa, or against Denver. Sorry,
yeah.
It is Tampa against Denver. Yeah, you still got 83 yards out of Scotty Miller. So, it was only on, I think it was only on 5 targets. Yeah, you still got 83 yards out of him. So, and that was with Godwin playing. So I'm completely on board with Scotty Miller as a pickup and start. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So I think that pretty much covers that game.
Yeah, it's fine. There's some likable pieces for betting. There's some you can quote unquote player studs in this game.
Yeah,
they're still figuring out who Tampa Bay is an offense as they're going through their struggles with injuries, and the Chargers have been up and down. They played really well against the Chiefs, and then they kind of looked okay against the Panthers. So,
yeah. Vikings Texans. Texans favored by 4.5. Vikings odds plus 198. Over under on this is 54.5. This feels like something I don't want to touch.
That's a high over under.
It's a high over under for two offenses that the Vikings scuffled up until last week, and Houston scuffled 3 weeks straight now against bad defenses. That's a high over under for this game. I'd honestly be willing to take the under on this one probably, and I don't typically like taking the under.
No, because you're rooting for no scoring, and what's the fun in that?
Right.
I don't like
the Vikings money line, and I'm not in love with the spread.
I don't like really anything.
I don't either.
Like, it's just
it's
teasing. Like, I can see Minnesota beating Houston by double digits. I can see Houston beating Minnesota, but like this is a battle of 0-3 teams.
Yeah,
that we're clearly considered playoff potential teams going into the season, and both have looked abysmal. Start out, Houston likely has a better team. Again, they face the worst schedule to start out the year.
Yeah, they're probably likely a better team than they've shown, but the Vikings might have also just figured something out. So who knows what we're gonna get? I don't. Yeah. We need to see. More.
If the game even happens.
Yeah. As far as fantasy pieces go, though, I'm okay with the Kirk Cousins stream. Justin Jefferson, chase those points, pick him up and start him. Adam Thielen, you're fine with. Dalvin Cook, you're fine with. As far as the Texans are concerned, you're rolling with Deshaun Watson. Again, he's got a lot of good matchups coming up, so you continue to roll with Deshaun Watson. And Will Fuller's the only wide receiver I want to trust. Because I don't trust Randall Cobb to be productive week in and week out because he hasn't been in 5 years.
He really hasn't.
And Brandon Cooks isn't caught on yet. So, for me, it's just let me trust Will Fuller until we see some consistency out of the other two, as long as Fuller's healthy. Deshaun Watson, and then, David Johnson, you're starting as a running back too. That's, I don't think there's anything too sneaky here other than chase the Justin Jefferson points with confidence. And, you can plug in Kirk Cousins if you need to. It's a good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We would hope to see some sort of, I guess, figuring out, what the receiving pecking order is for this Houston team. I do agree with you. Watson's a great play. David Johnson's a fine play. I think if you had one of Fuller, Cobb, and Cooks on your roster, I think this being a plus matchup is a positive. If you're in similar situations, but trying to pick one or the other, like Cobb versus somebody else or Cooks versus somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of three of these receivers, both Fuller and Cobb had touchdowns this past week against a very good defense that saw them leading throughout the majority of the game until Pittsburgh made their comeback. This is a very juicy matchup though against Minnesota's horrible secondary. So they get that. They're not wide receiver twos. They're all flex options in a plus matchup.
Agreed. Saints Lions. Saints favored by 4.5. Plus 100 odds on that too. I actually like that a lot. Negative 196 on the money line. Over under on this one's 54. Saints spread at plus 100 odds is the bet that really jumps out to me here.
Yeah, I love this. Like, this might be one of my favorite plays of the week.
Yeah.
I think that Saints come out, 2 heartbreaking losses. They lose Monday night against the Raiders in the new stadium. And then you get somewhat embarrassed against Green Bay Sunday night. Saints take revenge on a bad Detroit team. So I like that. I like the Saints and the points. I don't really love the over-under because I think the Saints defense is better than what they've shown.
Yeah, and we saw this last year too, where the Saints defense, the last couple of years, where the Saints defense has started off really slow and then picked it up the further you got into the season.
Yeah, because I mean the Saints would need to score like 40, like even with this being a 54 over-under, Saints could blow out Detroit. Detroit just doesn't score enough points.
Yeah,
like you're hoping the Saints score 40 points, and Detroit can make up the next 14, and hopefully get something else there. Like that's a lot of points. I wouldn't even mind taking the under if you think it's going to be a blowout that the Lions just doesn't get any offense going.
Yeah. As far as fantasy goes, obviously Kamara.
He's been so good.
Yeah, he's been really good. Drew Brees, actually, if you want to stream somebody over Drew Brees, I could see that being perfectly viable.
He's looked old.
Yeah, he's looked like he did the 2 years before last year, not like he did last year. So
he looks lost without Michael Thomas.
Yeah, so for Drew Brees, you can get away with sitting Drew Brees at this point. There are better options this week. Alvin Kamara, you're fine with. As far as the wide receivers go for the Saints, Sanders or Traquan Smith have flex value at best.
If you believe the Saints are going to blow them out, it won't all be because they're running the football.
No, well,
I see some deep shots. I still like Traquan. He's still a vertical threat.
I do too, and I still think Sanders is talented as well. It's just I don't know that you can put a quarter on either one, so that kind of cuts into the perceived upside of either guy.
Yeah, I'm still okay with Jared Cook. I guess just a better overall matchup for him.
As far as the Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, as far as the Lions go, Marvin Jones, I guess, because he's not gonna draw Lattimore, and
I still play Galladay.
You're still gonna play Galladay too. I'm saying Marvin Jones is a guy that if you're questioning it, you want to have him plugged in because the Saints have not been great against wide receiver twos.
True.
They've also been bad against tight ends. So you take TJ Hawk is a solid plug-in for your tight end this week as well, just because it's a good matchup for him.
No running backs. I'm not playing Peterson.
No. No running backs.
Desperation, swift play.
Stafford with confidence.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he's streamer plus this week.
I agree. All right. Seahawks Dolphins. Seahawks favored by 6.5. I think that's as locky as a lock.
6.5.
Yeah, I think that's as locky as a lock gets because not even a touchdown.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
over under in this one's 54. Nope. Nope.
I mean the under is even odds, man. I'll take that back. Fitzpatrick, I think, is good enough to score points.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying nope.
Yeah.
Plus, I just don't like the under. I'd never like the under.
True. I mean, I got excited seeing even odds, then I realized it's for the under. And
yeah, it's Fitzpatrick. Well, and it's Fitzpatrick, who very well could.
Yeah, that dude can throw. You're going to get one of two games. Fitzpatrick throwing 4 picks or Fitzpatrick throwing for 350 and 3.
Yep. We mentioned earlier you're starting Myles Gaskin. I think you can start both Miami wide receivers given how bad Seattle's been against the position. So, Preston Williams and Devontae Parker.
Mike Gesicki, I think Fitz has streamer upside just given what we expect from the pace and what we expect the game script to be.
Yeah. Some good streaming quarterbacks this week.
Yeah. I mean, it's good.
Seattle, obviously, you're playing your normal suspects. You're playing Lockett, Wilson, Metcalf, and Carson.
If Carson, wait on news. It sounds like the knee sprain isn't.
It sounds like it was minor.
Serious, but
if he's out,
if they get up early, you may see more Carlos Hyde. I You're playing more of trying to build a narrative to not play Chris Carson. Just if you're going to play him, just be aware that if the Seahawks get up early, he may not see much run. And just keep an eye out on the news on him. Like he's someone that you're going to have to monitor throughout the week because they have comparable backups. And Carlos Hyde is a bruiser back, and Travis Homer's been okay as a pass catcher. And they don't need to have Chris Carson to win this game.
No,
in my opinion, they don't. So.
They don't.
So just be aware.
All right, Giants Rams. Rams favored by 12.5.
That feels even then that feels low.
Negative 650 odds. Over under on this one's 48.5. This is another game where it's just not worth it to me to bet on anything.
I might have fun with this. So again, in FanDuel, you can change the spread.
Yeah.
Get better odds in one way or the other. I may actually move up the odds and see if I can get like a plus like 14.5 or like 15.
I may just throw the Rams into a parlay as a lock to bump those odds a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't do the spread, but if you're doing like a money line,
no, I would throw a Rams money line into a parlay and just bump the odds on the parlay a bit.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Baltimore. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Where, I'm just trying to see what that's parlay. I want to see what how I can get this alternate spread to go. But either way, yeah, that's
yeah.
And as for fantasy, it's all Ram starters. I think you're not playing Brown. Obviously, you're playing Henderson with more upside. Goff is fine. Woods and Kupp are clearly.
Yeah, they've been changing on and off, but
yeah,
they're fine. Higbee, why not? I mean, it's tight end. It's a crapshoot. As far as the Giants go,
it's if there's a game for Deion Lewis to catch like 7 passes,
this is it.
One.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Slayton's going to draw Jalen Ramsey. I don't like Slayton this week.
I don't like Slayton this week either, and you do have the good old boys, but they haven't done anything. Evan Ingram has been quiet all year too, so I don't know that I can confidently recommend anybody doing anything with Giants.
Daniel Jones may not make it out alive. Aaron Donald may.
Oh yeah, Rams defense, stream them.
Oh yeah, sure. We don't really talk about that much here anymore, but if you own the Rams defense and leagues that play with defenses,
yeah,
fire him up.
Next game's a lot more fun. Bills Raiders. Bills favored by 3. I love that spread.
By 3?
Yeah, only by 3.
I'm assuming it's at LA. Wow, still only 3. Yeah. The way that Josh Allen's been playing,
the way the offenses
looked.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with Bills and giving 3 points.
Yep, I am too. Yeah, they're basically saying that game's a push if it's on a neutral field, and I don't think it is at all. I think that's tilted towards the Bills for sure. All right, looking at the fantasy output in this one, Josh Allen is a must start now. We don't even need to talk about him.
Nope.
Devin Singletary. I mean, he's
Zach Moss. He's getting the production. So
yeah, he's a running back too. Just plug him in. As far as the wide receivers go, John Brown, as long as he plays, Stephon Diggs. Again, you have 3 guys on the Bills right now you can start with confidence, both wide receivers and the quarterback. That you don't have to put a whole lot of thought into.
Fuck, even Cole Beasley that's gotten run.
Yeah.
I mean, Beasley's looked. Yeah.
Well, and Gabe Davis has looked good too.
Gabe Davis is taking some. I mean, eventually.
In Dynasty.
Yeah.
In Dynasty, by the way, if you didn't listen to me to draft Gabriel Davis, roster Gabriel Davis.
Easily. I think both Beasley, Diggs, and Brown are all playable. And Davis in deeper Dynasty leagues, I think, has some play here too.
I might activate him for this week, honestly. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does. The only reason I'm off on Gabe Davis or Cole Beasley is because this is a scenario where the Bills could be up early and often. You just don't got to.
It was like that last week.
Well, I don't know that the Raiders are making that type of a comeback. As for the Raiders, Darren Waller in this game is fine. because I think they're going to have to pass. And Josh Jacobs, obviously. Other than that, Hunter Renfrow came off of a good game, but I want to see him string together some consistency. And I don't think you're in dire enough need to go start Hunter Renfrow, given some of the other options we've thrown out there. So it's really just Jacobs and Waller for me.
That's going to be the answer pretty much every week until we see another receiver breakthrough out of here.
Yep. Agreed. Patriots Chiefs, third to last game. Patriots and the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 7 in this one. Over under is 54.
Chiefs even
money on a touchdown.
On a touchdown favorite. That's I mean, you'd think so. With how good the Chiefs looked last night against Baltimore. New England's just different. Even with Cam, I mean, Cam hasn't really looked great as a whole. Been good for fantasy outside of last week, but this screams maybe even over. I think Cam's good enough to push.
That's kind of
scoring if the Chiefs get up.
That's kind of where I was leaning, was towards the over and away from the spread, just because of Seattle, where you went 35-30, and yes, they lost, but you went 35-30. You know?
Yeah, I do think the Chiefs have a better secondary and have a better overall defense than what Seattle. I mean, Seattle's defense is fucking terrible. Like they're who they were. They're who we thought they were going to be last year.
Sure, but it's also Cam Newton we're talking about here as well, and I think the argument I made for Cam, again starting him this week when we talked last week, was just that, you know, I didn't think that the game was going to dictate him having to throw 40 some odd times.
True.
And he didn't, and it went about as expected. Well, this is a game where I do think he has to throw, 40 some odd times.
True.
So
I'm good with both. I think the Chiefs just beat the shit. I think the Chiefs will do this opportunity as to stick it to Bill Belichick and the Patriots, even without Tom Brady there. I think Chiefs spread and the over. I'm good with both.
Yeah.
Money line's a good juice too. Like, you're looking for a good parlay money line bet to throw out there within a parlay. I think the Chiefs
money line is another good parlay bet. As far as the Chiefs go, I don't want to touch the spread in this one because I think it could be another game like Seattle. Chiefs money line, and you're perfectly fine with that. I think that's a good one to throw in a parlay, as you said, just given that it is negative 330 odds. You're not going to bet that by itself, so you want to parlay that if you're going to bet it. Over, though, I think this is the first over I've seen that I really like.
I mean, it's at even money. They like the under more in this game. A bit surprising to me.
It is to me too. As far as fantasy goes, for the Patriots, you're still without Damian Harris. James White, I would hope he's back. We don't know, so keep an eye on that. If James White's back, it kills any value that Rex Burkhead had. Rex Burkhead saw 10 targets, I think, this past week.
3 total touchdowns.
Yeah, so kills Rex Burkhead if James White's back. We haven't seen Burkhead do anything as long as other backs have been healthy. Michelle had a good week too, but I don't expect the same type of production against the Chiefs. So
he's gonna get game scripted out. Yeah,
so stay away from that one. Edelman had a monster game against Seattle. I'd expect Edelman to come out and play well. As far as your other receiving options, it's going to be pretty spread around between options 2, 3, 4, as we've seen. So, we saw in the Seattle game, which is the game I'm kind of using as a blueprint for this, that N'Keal Harry and Damiere Byrd were both targeted. Not confident enough in either player to recommend to stream, as much as we believe in Harry's talent. So for me in this one, it's Edelman and Cam for the Patriots.
I mean, if we're going back and looking at Seattle, N'Keal Harry had 12 targets against Seattle, 8 catches for 72 yards.
Yeah.
I'm confident in playing Harry.
So
Demir Bird even had 9 targets and 6
well, and that's
catches.
why I said Bird. And the only concern with Harry is that he could end up drawing Travarius Ward, who's a good corner.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
It's a matchup thing for me with N'Keal Harry. That because Seattle, you just don't have a cornerback you worry about. At least Ward is above average.
Fair.
So
it feels weird because they use N'Keal Harry a little bit all over the place.
Well, they do, and I don't know that Ward shadows, but you still figure that that's the matchup that's probably going to happen more often than not if you want your top guy and your top guy.
Yeah.
So Demir Bird could be sneaky, but you're getting cute at that point, and I still don't think we're at a point in the season where we know enough to be super cute yet.
No,
we're getting cuter. We're liking that early teenage years glow up, but we ain't there yet. All right, Eagles Niners.
Ugh.
Niners favored by 7.
I don't even like that, dude.
I don't even like the money line. I don't like the over/under. Like, they're heavily favoring San Francisco here, and I don't know that you can.
Like, I know Philly has looked horrible, but they gotta be better than fucking New York. And I'm not betting this game at all.
No,
I don't trust Seattle to be able to replicate what we saw against New York. And it took them a little bit to get going.
In San Francisco,
for some reason, I wouldn't even be shocked if Philadelphia semi puts it together this week.
Well, I wouldn't either, and that's the thing is they put it together enough last week. So yes, they're without pieces. Yes, I could see them coming out and laying an egg, but not at that spread or those odds. Yeah. Do I want to bet that? So, and if they do, I don't want to direct a parlay either. So I just don't see anything here I like.
Yeah, I mean it's just Sunday Night Football. I'm probably playing prop bets depending on how good or bad my Sunday afternoon is. Maybe the line gets some changes throughout the week. As of right now, I don't like a touchdown difference between spread here and.
No, I don't either.
I don't like the over under. I mean, maybe over 45. Maybe if we could get some Wentz magic towards the end. If San Francisco gets up a bit earlier, but I don't like this game in terms of betting, and I don't like it that much for fantasy.
No, I don't like it that much for fantasy either. I think that you're okay with Greg Ward because he's going to get targets.
Ertz,
you're okay with Zach Ertz because you don't have Goddard and Sanders. Yeah, and you're not running Wentz out there because you can't right now. As far as
dropping Wentz at this
well, not yet.
I don't know,
but I'm not starting him either. He's in timeout. As far as the Niners go, you don't have a receiving option you can like, and if memory serves me, the Eagles haven't been horrid against the run, so they've not been great, but they've not been terrible. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I just...
well, they gave 81 and a touchdown to Henderson, but yeah, week 1, well, they played Washington in week 1, so... But Joe Mixon was relatively held in check too, so yeah, I don't want to start either running back either if I can help it.
Yeah, you're taking a shot in the dark on getting, like, if I'm playing any of them, I'll play McKinnon. I think he'll get the most touches, and he's been the better looking back between him and Wilson. It's just it doesn't feel great. It feels average to me.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yes, she did.
Doesn't feel great. It feels average. Naming your next sex tape. Falcons Packers, last game.
Oof, this will be fun.
Start
anybody fantasy relevant.
Over under in this one is 57.5.
I still want to take the over.
I still want the over. Falcons. Green Bay is negative 335 in this one. I do think Green Bay wins this game.
I think this is where truly Atlanta's wheels fall off. They've had back-to-back heartbreaks and now they get a very confident Green Bay team that comes in.
I'm parlaying.
I think Green Bay beats the fucking shit. I think this could be double-digit points here. I think Green Bay just beats the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's Monday Night Football, so I can't really parlay it with anything.
No, I mean you'll get chances at some same game parlay.
Yeah, and maybe that's what you do. I mean, you would parlay the over with the Packers money line, I guess, and a couple props. But
I'll do some prop bets for this one. Again, I like prop betting prime time.
If you can same game parlay the Packers money line, that's the only thing here I really like. Anybody fantasy relevant in this game you're starting, period.
Yeah. Like, I'm in a league where I have to potentially play Chase Sternberger, who had 3 targets and caught all 3 targets.
Sure.
So,
all right.
Maybe even him.
I'm going to drop you a subtle reminder here.
Beer review.
Shit, that's right.
Just a small, subtle little reminder that it's the end of the episode and you have not reviewed your beer yet.
Yeah, I got so excited. This beer kind of gives me the same feelings that I like about the Chiefs and Patriots over here. I even get even money for this. This is, again, for those of you that need a reminder about an hour and a half into doing this, if not longer.
Hour and 50 minutes.
This is a milkshake IPA with blackberry, apricot, graham cracker, and vanilla. This is heavily sweet. It's a bit tart on the front end. It's going to always be sweet throughout. Obviously, the graham cracker and the vanilla will help to bring that out, while the tartness is being brought out by the blackberries and the apricot to it. It's hot with Mosaic and Simcoe. It's fantastic. That's really about all it is. If you like milkshake IPAs, if you get an opportunity to get Hot Butcher in the Chicagoland area, I highly recommend I highly recommend picking up one of these beers. Same way I highly recommend hitting the over in the Chiefs Patriots football game. Boom. Better late than never.
Yes, completely agree with the over. All right, yep, better late than never, and that's all we got. So, yep, thank you for tuning in. Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube. Come hang out, ask questions, interact with us. Thank you, Darren, who I'm pretty sure has been here about the whole show. We will catch you guys next show.
Peace.